Good morning, and in my country where I live, bon dia. Can I just start by saying I'm so excited to be here in this city for the first time, my first time in Vietnam, and I would really like to thank initially my colleagues here, to John, to Del, to David, and to Wing and her team for organising this event. I'm so impressed that there are so many people here today. So a big thank you for being here. Well, as John said, I'm a teacher. Initially, and to start with, I'm a teacher, and I hope to always be a teacher. But it is so pleasurable to be able to share some of my practices. And at the moment, I'm very interested in children and childhood and what we can do to improve the learning process of young children all over the world in all our educational institutions. So, teaching the whole child. When I say to you, what is the whole child? What comes to mind when I say that? What do you consider to be the whole child? Can you just share your thoughts for like 30 seconds with the person sitting next to you? What is the whole child for you in your classroom? Mm-hmm. So I have my little lucky chicken whistle because, and this is something you could have in your classroom, especially when you need to bring the group back to you. Instead of using your voice, you could have a little whistle of some sort, a little musical instrument. So, what is this thing about the whole child? It's so interesting for me these days because there's a huge drive to concentrate only on the cognitive, to have testing as early as possible. And I think that if we keep doing that, just that, it's going to be a problem later on for children. I've recently had a little boy at my school. He's 12, very, very smart, 10 out of 10 in all the tests, but he doesn't know how to tie his shoelaces yet. Yeah? So I'm talking about social emotional learning and life skills. It's important. So a quality education is one that focuses on the whole child, the social, emotional, mental, physical and cognitive development, which I'm sure you just talked about now. So that each student, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, social economic status or graphic location, it doesn't matter. It prepares the child not just for what? Not just for... Can we fill these gaps in? It prepares the child for, not just for... What do you think is missing, the two words here? Yes? Great, okay. What else? We have to prepare them for? Life. Life, exactly. We have to prepare our students for life, and as you said over there, not just for testing. Right? Would you agree? So here you see, I'm going to show you the framework from the Association for Supervision and Curricular Development. And you can see that the child will be in the centre, and there are so many other aspects around the child's life that has to be considered if we're going to get the best out of our students. So environment and relationships mould the child's education through life. And children from 0 to 21 are in childhood, right? So it's very important for us to reflect on our learning spaces. What does that learning space say to the child as the child goes into it? And I'm going to show you some photographs for us to just discuss a little bit in a minute. And the other important aspect I think that's essential, as you know, are the relationships around that child. How do we relate to the children in our classroom? How do we look at them? How do we use our voice, our gestures? How do we present ourselves as a teacher? Yeah? All those little tiny ingredients can make a huge difference. So here you see you've got the framework. The child is in the middle. And then you have the health of the child, the safety, whether or not the child is engaged in your class, how you can support that, and how you can also challenge those very, very intelligent children so that they keep motivated in your class. And then the next outer circle you'll see, what's the policy of your school? How does your school see the students and the families that actually come to your school? How is that community, how is the dialogue between that community, right? You can also see how other aspects of life are important. For example, family engagement. In Brazil, where I live, children go to school very early in the morning. They start about 7:15, and then they usually finish. The younger kids finish about 12:30 at lunchtime. And then sometimes they'll have afternoon classes, or they'll go to a language school, or they'll go swimming. They have very long days. And their parents, their young parents, are out working hard to make a living, to pay the bills, and to get somewhere. But I see a distance sometimes between family and school, and even parents and child. Yeah? So whenever we can, let's find out more about the families. When we know more about the child, we're definitely going to do a better job. Okay? There's more to explore there, but I just have 30 minutes. I just wanted to introduce you to this idea. So everything we know about early childhood indicates this awesome capacity that children have to self-educate themselves. Yes? They just have to have the right environment to do that. They're very smart. Yeah? They come with this beautifully open mind. So what are we going to do to help them fill it with beautiful things? I very much like this book. It's called Between Form and Freedom. Look at the title. We don't want to squash our students into a ready-made shape, a form. And also, if we give them too much freedom, they lose direction. So it's getting a balance. As I've said, childhood is between 0 and 21. Is anybody here still under 21 here? Anybody? John? No, put your hand down, John. Yes, there you see. He's going to make sense of it all, this little boy. So children go through 7-year cycles, yes? Born at 0, 7 years old, the teeth start to fall out. Then we have puberty at 14, and 21 is usually the university time, or getting out into the larger world to find a job. Okay? So I like the way that this author, I'm going to give you the reference at the end. Her name is Betty Staley, but I like the way she's organised the 7-year cycles. So she says from 0 to 7, the young child thinks through doing and learns through imitation. And can you see the picture? Yeah? So can you see how deeply, deeply important it is for those of you who teach the kindergartens? Yeah? Everything you do, everything you say, it's like a little sponge, you know? So it's really important to think about how you are as a teacher. Yeah? You'll not be a good teacher if you only teach what you know and not who you are. Okay? So you have to think about the way you use your voice, the way you use your classroom management, how you organise everything, the dedication that you put into your classroom plan will be a positive result if you put in the careful work, right? It's obvious. So from 7 to 14, the child thinks in pictures and learns through feelings. Now, those of you who teach this block from 7 to 14, you probably experience a lot of different emotions in the classroom, yeah? First and second graders are usually in love with learning, and they're in love with the teacher. But by the time that child gets to about 10 years old, they start to be a little bit more critical, yeah? They might even do this with their eyes, you know, when they go, oh. They didn't do that before. But this is a very positive thing, really. It's them seeing the world a little bit more real, as it were. No, not so much like a game and a fantasy, yeah? So it's like a slow awakening. So we have to be very sensitive, I think, to this age of child, you know, 9 and a half, 10 and a half. And to counterbalance this difficulty that they sometimes have with friends or school or fears, we should show them that the world is a beautiful and positive place. So our words that we use to encourage them to learn English are vital for their healthy well-being and their learning. And then from 14 to 21, the young person thinks conceptually and learns through intellect. Yeah? This is the age where students are able to take on a larger amount of knowledge, and also it will make more sense for them. So what happens sometimes in Brazil that I see, and you know, it can be okay for some students, but I do see schools teaching the solar system to some very young children, and it's beautiful, the planets and the sky and the stars, but in terms of really understanding the distance of the universe, they still don't know the distance between school and swimming classes. Yeah? So let's try and be connected to childhood development in order to be a little bit more efficient. So the word kindergarten, yes, it means children garden. And I love this approach. I think that's why I called my school the secret garden, because students really do learn best when they're involved in imaginative play, where they have stories, music, games, yeah? Because that's part of learning when you're a child. Play is the work of the child. Okay? So let's have a look at some classrooms now. What do you think? We can just shout out the ideas. Perhaps it's a Montessori classroom. It could be that other methodology from North Italy, Reggio Emilia. Could be a Steiner classroom. What are the things about this classroom that you like? You like the space? Yes? And the light coming through the window, yes. What else can you see here? The comfort. It's kind of a little bit homely, isn't it? Can you imagine how lovely that must feel for young children to be in a homely school environment with plants, with different places to learn, little quiet table for reading, lying on the floor for drawing. It's definitely a space that has considered the whole child, in my opinion. It's perhaps quite far away from our reality, but we can aspire to something of it, can't we? Now here, this one's probably British or maybe North American, I'm not sure. But what do you think about this one? Yeah, cluttered. How do the students feel in this classroom? Yeah, there seems to be a lot of information, right? It's like, oh my God, I have to learn everywhere I look. There's a word or something. It makes them tired. It takes away their vital energy if there's nothing to imagine. Yeah? I know that we want our children to learn English really well so they can pass exams, so they can study abroad perhaps, so they can get ahead in life. But if we don't concentrate on early childhood development, then that's going to be wasted. We're going to be full of kids who don't know how to tie their shoelaces, right? This is a typical classroom in Brazil for teenagers. We do have light, but what could you say about this classroom? Yeah, there's nothing in it that tells you about the students, right? There's no work on the walls. It's very form. It's a form class, isn't it? So what could we do to make this more human, this classroom? What would you do? Would you open the windows, let the green in, yeah? Put some of the students' work on the walls, even if you have to put it and take it away. If I'm in a classroom like that, I'm going to take some flowers, put on my desk. Just one tiny little gesture can make a huge difference. And you can see it in your students' faces. Now, this might be a very poor classroom, but for me, I think I'd like it more than this and this. Yeah? So it's all relative. So on Monday morning, when you go back to your classroom, look at it and think, what could you add or change or something special in it that makes it a class where your kids really want to come in and learn with you? So here's another little question. Okay? What do you think about childhood these days? What are our main challenges? What do we think about childhood? Is it going okay or is it rushed? Yeah, it's a bit rushed, isn't it? Wouldn't you agree? Yeah. And it's a virtual it's a virtual learning reality for our students too. And that also makes it fast-paced. I was talking to some teachers earlier about classroom management. This is also a challenge because kids are changing. They don't want to sit down the whole time with the books. They are telling us what they need. We have to listen, right? So we have to change our teaching practices in order to, in order to keep them going, keep them motivated. So parents used to say things like this. Don't take things that aren't yours. Clean up your own mess. Share everything and don't hit people. That was what our parents said to us. And now, particularly the parents in my reality, especially young parents who are busy parents, who don't really have time to read about childhood development, they often say things like this. He walked before he was 1. Genius child. She's so intelligent she knows all her numbers. She might know her numbers by rote learning, but does she know her numbers forever? There's a difference. She can read already. Yes, he could write his name at 3. Yeah? So, the efficiency of learning is not just memorizing stuff. Yeah? Don't we want our students to be lifelong learners? Don't we want our classes to be memorable? Yes, I think we do. So the child has everything it needs already within it in order to unfold its beauty. So think about it. Would you rip open the leaves of this bud to get to the flower before it opens itself? Yeah? So we need to get back into touch with the timing of nature. And our primordial instincts with that, I think, are very lost these days. We need to halt the current belief that we can quicken the human potentialities before the child can actually do them for themselves. And they can. They're amazing when they get the space and time to show you who they are. Kim Simpson, she wrote in this book, it's called Too Much Too Soon. I'll give you the reference. I'm always reading about how we can protect childhood, yeah? Because it's the beginning of everything. If something goes wrong in childhood, it carries on with us our whole lives, right? So we really don't want children who look like this. And I see them a lot in my classes. Sometimes I see them at lunchtime before they come to my school. I look at their plate. Just meat, potatoes, rice, no colour, no lettuce, no tomatoes, no carrots. Yeah? The busy lives that we have are robbing these children of their health. They go to bed too late. They're on internet the whole time. They're not eating well. They're not taking enough exercise. If we are educators, we really do have to spread the word about the importance so that we do have children who are motivated, who look active, who keep that little sparkle alive in their eyes, right? Those are the kids, that we want to see in our classrooms. And another little thing. This is something I try to do a lot in my school, especially when we have the circle time activities. I have children from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 together so that the older students learn how to help the younger students. Now, since I've only been in Vietnam a few days, but I see something that makes me so happy. I see the love and the care that Vietnamese families show to their children. Yeah? I see grandmothers kissing and hugging the granddaughters. I see fathers playing with their little sons. This is something that should never be lost, should never be taken away for this modern life that we live. Yeah? So give that value. It's really important for education. So here's a picture from my little school. As I've said, I live in the south of Brazil, and I've had this language school, just English language school, for 16 years now. And it's really important for me as a teacher trainer and as a writer for primary that I have this language laboratory where I can try out ideas and also learn from my children. This is a playtime moment, and this is a moment where I don't give them a lot of materials to play with. They might have some rope, some cardboard boxes, or even something they found from the trees, because I'm very lucky I have a little forest around my school. I'm going to show you a very, very short video of something that happened at break time in my school. Actually, there's one more slide before the break time. Let me talk about the importance of break time. Yeah? Break time does what? It gives children a chance to relax, to run around, yes, to talk to their friends, to play. Yes, it gives them a mental break from the cognitive learning. And it's so very important. Just when I was travelling here, a friend of mine sent me an article which I read about a school in Texas. And it has now increased the recess time. And you can see the results have been amazing. Students are paying more attention in class and working more autonomously. It's very difficult for us to let go of control. It's difficult for schools and coordination and school owners to give the focus, give a balanced focus to the cognitive learning and the element of play. We can't spend the whole morning and the whole afternoon sitting and just listening. We need to get up too. We need to talk to people. Yes? It's the same. Imagine for children. So let's have a look. Is it the next slide, John? So I'm going to show you this. This is something that happened at playtime. One of the teachers came to me and said, Lucy, that looks a bit dangerous. Is that okay? So I went over to this group of children, mixed ages, all really excited. And I looked and I saw that the girl in the tree was an older girl. She was calculating the risk, and everybody was working together. So I said, no, I think it's okay. Let's see.
Go! Go!
When I show this to the teachers in Brazil, they say to me, oh my God, Lucy, did the parents see that? Because, you know, we all have the health and safety, but this is risky play. They've calculated it. They're working together as a team, yeah? And also, we had that kind of play, didn't we, when we were kids? Riding bikes, climbing trees, fishing, yeah? How can it be that in a short space of time, that kind of important play has been taken away from our children? Yeah? So it was an eye-opener for me. Obviously, they're not going to do that stuff all the time. Yeah? But did you see the joy, the collective joy in the game that they themselves had created? Yeah? So it's giving them the space. It's giving them the whole child possibility. Now, teachers, we are key in the future healthy generation of the next society. The children come to our schools. Yeah? They're with us on a weekly basis. And it's very powerful. It gives me goosebumps. Because we really can make a difference. I think the future of healthy human beings is in our hands. So let's take this responsibility very, very carefully. Okay? Just some very quick ideas of how we can try to get families a little bit closer to our school, okay? Very quickly I'm going to go through some questions that we can ask. How can I gather and use information for parents to improve students' classroom experience? Yeah? Perhaps you can do a questionnaire with your parents to see, you know, what questions and doubts they might have about their child's learning English. What steps can we take to help parents support their children's learning and development? Do you send a song you're working on to home, or a game or something for them to play with mum or dad or brothers and sisters? Yeah? I know we have a very busy schedule, but sometimes we can just send a little something with our students to their home environment. Yeah? Simple resources that we can share. We have this age of technology, right? So we can share music, we can share photographs, we can share the homework for the student who didn't come that day. Yeah? We can give that support to families. We can also make parents feel welcome in our school. Be visible as well, so that they can come in and ask us questions. Show the families that we're working with that we are up to date with our knowledge about education. And I think that when we can get parents into our schools to give them workshops about different learning developmental stages, I think that's really helpful for parents who are so busy. I think we can show them that we support them. Yeah? So schools have this important role to play. And in some way, like I've talked about, perhaps we can also have some sort of cultural renewal where parents really understand their children more. Not just love, but understanding. And schools can act as a focal point for communities to come together and engage, yes? I've already met different nationalities in Vietnam. It's so lovely to see different nationalities in schools all teaching English, yeah? Have you ever had that cultural evening where you share different recipes from different places? So much more we can do. So I'm going to finish now just with a little tiny story about this student of mine, Maria Luisa. You can see her there. When she was 7 or 8, she's a very, very smart student, but she was very fiery. Sometimes she'd get very angry and storm out of the classroom, stamp her feet. Yeah. And I kept a very close eye on her. I spoke to her parents a lot, and I spoke to her because I thought she's smart enough to understand the things, you know. So when she was about 8 years old, she gave me this little note one day for my birthday. Happy birthday for special teacher. You is a very, very important in my life. Now, ask me, do I care about the verb to be here? I don't. The message is much bigger than that. And as we went through, she's now 20.